Wallabies star Israel Folau has officially been sacked for his anti-gay social media posts. Folau has been handed an official code of conduct breach notice of his contract by Rugby Australia this evening. The Integrity Unit deemed Folau had committed a high-level breach warranting termination of his contract. Rugby Australia Chief Executive Raelene Castle says Folau has failed to meet his obligations after being warned last year over similar social media posts.
Israel was warned formally and repeatedly that any social media posts or commentary that in any way were disrespectful to people because of their sexuality would result in disciplinary action. Despite this, Israel has chosen to ignore this warning, which is why we are here today.
Raelene Castle. Now, this comes just hours after the Wallabies coach, Michael Cheika, says he won't pick Israel Folau for this year's Rugby World Cup following the star fullback's anti-gay comments on social media. Folau is standing by his comments. All Blacks coach Steve Hansen says Folau's posts were wrong and that the player had let himself down. Hansen says Folau is entitled to his beliefs but shouldn't make such divisive comments.
What he said isn't right, and it's been dealt with pretty strongly by his employers. And he's got the right to have an opinion, but I think he's probably let himself down in how he's gone about that.
Steve Hansen there. And our rugby reporter Joe Porter joins us now. Joe, has he been fired? Has his contract been torn up? But it's not the end of it really, is it?
No, that's right. He has been sacked and he's got 48 hours to either accept that sanction, to accept that his contract has been terminated with Rugby Australia, or he can appeal the decision. Now, if he appeals the decision, he'll go to a code of conduct hearing. Now, unfortunately, before you can fire someone in this employment situation, you need to give a breach of notice. So that's why it's taken Rugby Australia so long to officially fire Folau. They really wanted to get their case against him watertight before they gave him that official breach, which would result in the termination of his contract. Now, like I said, Folau has 48 hours to appeal. It's very, very likely that he'll do so based upon religious grounds, his strong sense of beliefs, and essentially that this is a breach of freedom of speech from Rugby Australia's behalf. So, yes, this saga is far from over. We've also got Easter and, of course, Anzac holidays coming up. Somewhat ironic because Folau has recently preached at a sermon that people shouldn't be celebrating Easter, but that's going to push this out even further. So we're going to find that over the next few weeks this could rumble on for quite some time with lawyers doing their things, appeals being made, and no doubt Folau will wait till the very end of that 48 hours before announcing he's going to appeal the decision.
Meanwhile, Damian McKenzie's dreams of playing at first Rugby World Cup are over for this year at least. The All Blacks coach, Steve Hansen, confirmed this morning that McKenzie ruptured knee ligaments in the Chiefs' win over the Blues on the weekend. Hansen says it is a bitter pill to swallow for both the first five come fullback and the team.
He's done an ACL, so his World Cup opportunity's gone. He's still young enough to make probably the next two, so it creates another opportunity for somebody else. So we've got to expect injuries, and there'll be more than just him, I'd suggest, by the time we finally name the team to go to the World Cup.
So, Joe, how much of a blow is this for the All Blacks?
Yeah, well, initially I sort of thought, like Hansen did, that injuries to top players, especially in a World Cup year, can be expected. The All Blacks have a history of it, and it is the nature of the game these days. But the more you think about it, it really becomes clear this is quite a devastating blow for the All Blacks and their World Cup chances. Damian McKenzie, while not necessarily a starting player, was a key cog in that matchday 23, either coming off the bench at fullback or first five to provide spark and burst and impact from the bench, which we know he can do. He's a really unique player with ball in hand and creates space for a lot of his players around him, and against tiring defences he's a dynamo. So he was also playing a dual playmaker role with Beauden Barrett. We know Beauden Barrett isn't necessarily an out-and-out first five, even still heading into this World Cup year. So having them both on the field, two first fives, one playing first five and fullback, really gave the All Blacks a dual playmakers role, and they could play on either side of the field and essentially both run the game, giving Beauden Barrett a little bit of help controlling the All Blacks around the park. So this is a really big blow. They don't have a like-for-like replacement. He's incredibly versatile. They've got guys like Richie Mo'unga from the Crusaders first five, who's obviously next cab off the rank. He's a fantastic first five, perhaps even more of a backline general than Beauden Barrett, without the same natural brilliance. However, he's not Damian McKenzie. He can't come on and spark games with a scything run from fullback like Damian McKenzie can, or make incisive breaks running off the cuff from first five quite in the same manner. And beyond Richie Mo'unga, you've got a very sort of a lack of depth in the first five position. You don't really have any out-and-out first fives. You've got guys like Geordie Barrett, who could play there at a pinch, perhaps Ben Smith, the fullback, even TJ Perenara from the All Blacks. But really, there's no one behind those three, Barrett, Mo'unga and McKenzie, that can play first five at international level. So that lack of depth there is incredibly concerning. And let's wait, another injury, and we could see Stephen Donald at this World Cup again.
So, Joe, while we've got here, let's switch codes for a second. The Wellington Phoenix football coach is leaving after one season. What's going on there?
Yes, well, Mark Rudin announcing, or the club finally confirming that he was heading back to Australia at the end of the season. Look, the club puts it down to a simple case of him being homesick and missing his family and his base in Sydney, and a large part of that will be the reason, and a large part of that is true. However, behind the scenes, there were some tensions between Mark Rudin, a very ambitious young coach who's done so well this year with a Phoenix team that has struggled to really make an impact on the A-League, but this year they're guaranteed to make the playoffs. They're playing a good brand of football and have had some great results. So he's done really, really well with a squad and a club that was up to bugger all at the start of the year. However, he's asked for more money to buy more players, and he wants to chase big-name players and bring guys to the club. And unfortunately, the club owners and general manager seem a little bit resistant to that. So there has been some tensions behind the scenes between the front office and the coach. And unfortunately, I guess they've both decided it's not quite going to work out. And Rudin, well, he's had a great success in his first year. He'll get snapped up over in Australia again, no doubt, very quickly as an A-League coach. And there's a new expansion side coming out of Western Sydney, which is kind of where he's from. So it all sort of seems to fall into place for Mark Rudin, and he'll be given a whole lot more money to work with at the new club too.
Thanks, Joe. It's good to talk to you. Joe Porter, our rugby reporter there.